we will begin with an introduction. Your introduction. So still loading in. I hope people over on Discord are joining in as well. And folks on Discord, again, feel free to use event chat to leave any questions you may have that you might want answered regarding the industry, regarding game dev, regarding full scale stack development, FSGD. My brain stopped working for a second. And yeah, I think we are live. There we go. Oh, just mute myself on there. And yeah, welcome everyone to our series, our session that we have almost every week, the Proud Alumnus series. This week we have Sethunath with us, who I'll let you introduce yourself. So go ahead, Sethunath.
Hi. Hi. Also, okay. So I think it's hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. Also, it's my first alumnus section. So I'm really happy. I got this opportunity to meet you all and interact with you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Piyush, could you please mute yourself? I think I can hear you on Zoom. There we go. Okay, done. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, could you say that again? Because I think people may have not heard it because of the background noise.
Yeah. Sure. So I think it's the first time I'm in a alumnus section of Outscar. Yeah, and I'm really happy that I got this opportunity and interact with the current generation of Outscar. I think I was part of the second clan of Outscar.
Yes.
So it's been a long time. So I'll introduce myself. So myself, Sethunath. So currently, I work with a company called Enco Games, and some of you might have heard about the project in which I work, or might be familiar with the project. It's called Fauji. It's a multiplayer shooter game, and so actually, yeah. Anyways.
Before this, you were at Gameshin, right, for Ludo King?
Yes, but not for Ludo King. Actually, Gameshin is the company which develops Ludo King, but I was not working in Ludo King.
All right.
I was working on another lightweight card game. Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the nitty gritty then. Folks for who are just joining in, this is Sethunath. He is currently at Encore and he works on developing 4G, which you may have heard of. I think if you live in India and you know about mobile games, you've probably heard about 4G. So let's start from the beginning. How did you start learning game development?
Okay. Okay. So usually most of the developers have a great story behind their initial stage. But for me, it was kind of simple. So I used to play a lot of games, but I was never keen into how we develop a game. But the thing is, after completing my graduation, since I was interested in playing games, because of that only, I joined a game development company. But actually, that was a tough part. The thing is, without any introduction to the game development industry, I joined that industry, and it was really tough to learn new things and how we implement those things. I was pretty new to all these things. So
did you have a background in CS and IT before you went to game development?
Yeah, I did my BTech in computer science.
Okay. So it was easier in that sense, where you didn't have to worry about learning programming from scratch and learning about data structures and all that from scratch. So that probably helped you out, I imagine.
Yes, of course. Into. So when comparing to a person who is jumping into this gaming industry without any connection with this industry or computer programming, I think I was lucky. But still, I really think that the curriculum that we are learning in BTech or any of the engineering colleges that we pass out from, it's comparatively very older. Nothing from that is being used in our industry right now. So actually, that was the toughest part. Yeah,
was catching up to all the modern
yes,
ways of just game development.
yeah.
So you just said that everything was kind of behind in your college. So what resources do you wish existed back when you started learning game development?
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, when the first time I started my first studio for game development, so the problem was like, so I was introduced with how to program in C++. Okay, I knew how to write a code in C++ and how to compile it, how to debug it. So I had learned these things from my engineering college, but it was entirely a different perspective. I think. Like it was just 1 or 2 pages of code, but in a gaming studio, I was open to a project in which there are thousands of C++ files and 10,000 of classes in that. So it was a totally different thing. So at that time, I really wished if I at least had a source to learn very basic things. Something like, okay, I was not even knowing what a game loop is. Okay, that's the most basic thing, but I was not even aware about those things. And so I had to learn all these things completely from scratch. That was a difficult part.
It was tough.
So yeah.
So I want to ask the people who are watching, do you guys know what a game loop is? Especially like, did you know about game loop before you joined like the Outscale Launchpad thing? And I just want to know more from them, because like you said, like you transitioning from BTech into game dev didn't know that. So I assume a lot of people even now might not really know what that is. So let's move on from there and talk about when you finally realized, learned some of the basics of game dev. How was your experience building your first game, and was it like a solo thing that you did, or did you do it with a team?
No, no, no. Of course, it was not a solo thing. So when I joined my first company, so basically they were not giving us a thorough training process in the development or how we are working on those projects. So it's like they will be giving just a very brief introduction to the games, and then what they do is we will be working on very minute features, like, okay, if there is some pop-up needs some kind of change, we will be working on that. Like that, we will be working on those kind of smaller features, and going forward we will be moving into much tougher tasks, like that.
So did you find it easier because you're working with a team? Did you find it enjoyable?
Yeah, of course, it's enjoyable, but I felt something different from there. So what happens is, since we it's not something like we are working in a team. It's something like we are working under someone, because we are not some trained developers. So what they do is, the senior developer or the team lead, whoever it is, he will be working in his way of coding or his style of development. So basically what happens is, automatically we will be molding into that thing. Even if we are having some other skills, that's not relevant in that kind of architecture.
All right, that's quite interesting to hear from someone whose first attempt was with a team to make a game, straight in. And let's talk a bit about your challenges that you faced. You already mentioned that you didn't understand a lot of it, but as a fresher coming into the games industry, what else do you think was a big challenge for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell something. At the time when I was working with my first company, so I wanted to change my job. So I itself know that, okay, I was not up to the limit. Okay, if I'm participating in an interview by another company, I will not clear it. because I was good at what I was doing at my office or my company or for my own product.
For your
But
projects,
still, yeah. But still, I was not up to the limit when on the side of another company or for another project. So that was an issue. So at that time, so I started to learn things from YouTube and all. But the problem is, so I still remember something mentioned by my professor at my college. So he always mentioned, so we all students used to learn things from YouTube videos and things like that. But one of my professor told me, okay, you can learn it from anywhere, but always make sure you are reading the books. Okay, so there is a lot of difference between this plenty of YouTube videos and one book. The main difference is like, okay, anyone can create a content, video with some kind of content inside that. It can be any kind of tutorial, but the problem is it might not be the best way to do something. But when we are looking at a book, the difference with that is a person who is writing a book will be a person with a lot of experience. Otherwise, a publisher won't publish that. And that's the biggest difference in that. So whatever printed in that book will be the best way to do that. Obviously, that's implement that's can be applied to any scenarios that
most education fields. But do you think that learning from these YouTube videos meant that you didn't have any hands-on experience and understanding as to why those things were being done like you would get from a book?
Yeah, so I'll explain that with an example.
Yeah.
So for example, just assume you are developing some kind of game. Okay, so you want to move one game object in that thing from one point A to point B. Okay, so if you search in YouTube, you can see a lot of methods to do this thing. But there will be a particular way that suits your situation. Like whether it should be depending on the FPS or whether there are a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
So there is a perfect way that suits your product or your situation. So we should be following that method. So that's the difference. If we are simply following a YouTube video and doing something, we are not knowing that, okay, they are doing this method because of this particular reason. We do not know that thing. So that's the difference I felt with Outscan. So if when Mayank was teaching me things, okay, we will be updating the position of this body using this delta time thing because it should not be affected with the frame rate, like that. That's the difference between the knowledge that we are getting from a person with a responsible person compared to that we are getting from some random YouTube video.
That makes sense, because like, again, you said there are multiple use cases for a single thing, and you can use different techniques to get it done. But unless you understand why you're doing it, you'll just copy that and be like, okay, this is the method I know, and try to implement it wherever you see it again. So it makes sense. And I would like to now touch upon your outscale journey, because you just mentioned how Mayank would teach you and be responsible about it. So how has Outscale contributed to your journey as a game developer?
Yeah, okay. So just as I mentioned in the previous example, actually, I think I explained everything in that, because it's not important that how much I learned, but the best part I learned from Outscale is how I should be learning things. Okay, if I want to work on something, so what I learned from Outscale is, okay, if I need to learn something new, how should I do that? That's the main thing I learned from Outscale. And another skill I gained from Outscale was like to demonstrate my skills. Like I think I was a good programmer, but I was never good in demonstrating these things. So whenever I go to an interview, I only had one resume in my hand. So, but after joining Outscale, the main difference was that so my resume got shrink to a single page thing. But from there, it had my LinkedIn profile and my GitHub profile, and inside my GitHub, I had all the projects that I had worked on. So that actually that was a major difference for me.
So this is a thing that we inculcate in the people who join our programs, is building in public. And Outscale is, all the members of Outscale really truly believe in building in public. So this is also another example of building in public, where we ask the people who are learning to post the things that they do on LinkedIn, so that there's always progress being shown and the other people can see it, comment on it, talk about it, and it maybe even helps give you a confidence boost. So do you think that having all your projects shown in that manner helped you gain a bit of confidence in your own abilities, especially when giving interviews?
Yes. So the thing is, one thing Mayank told us at that time for training for the interviews was like, okay, you should be adding your GitHub link in your resume. So that any recruiter will be first going into that, and when they are looking at your repo history, there should be continuous green dots over there, like that. So based on the traffic of my comments. So currently it's not like that after started working with all these companies, but I still remember that thing. So I think that's really important. Even if it's some kind of minor changes, it will give the recruiter a feel that okay, he is regular about this thing. He is regularly getting updated. He is learning something new and he is doing something. It's a good way to convey that okay, we are doing this. Okay,
we are not just lacking off on a project or like leaving it halfway.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've talked about how it was, when you were a fresher in the industry, and how you were, you didn't know, you were learning on the job, and you weren't sure that you would crack interviews when you would go to them, or if you would go to them. So how has your career changed, your life changed before joining Outscale and after joining Outscale? Like, how do you think things have changed?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, when I was working with my first company, so just assume I want to change my company. So something I can do is I can just learn how to develop new games in Unity from YouTube. It's very easy. But the thing is, I didn't know how to showcase them. That's the first part I mentioned now. And the second thing is the very basic things that we need to learn. Like okay, for example, if I want to develop a infinite runner game in Unity, it's very easy. Like we can find hundreds of tutorials from YouTube for that. But the way from Outscale it teaches us, it's like okay, how to do these things as designer friendly, how to do these things in the best performing way, things like that. So learning all these things and marking them on GitHub made us on the interview process also. So before and after Outscale, the interview process was totally different. So after Outscale, it's like whenever we are getting interviewed, what we show is our GitHub repo. Okay, and they will be asking us questions from that, and we already know that because we developed that. So that's the main difference in that.
So yeah, I think one of the things that we try to get into people, like you said, is not just teaching them about how to do things, but also doing it in ways that are useful for when you get into the industry. So once you're working on a product, you do need to optimize it. You do need to build it in a way so that it's game designer friendly, so that the people who are working on the team with you also know. And I think when you were doing your full scale full stack game development, you also worked alongside a bunch of other clan members, right? A team of y'all worked on it together. So you did get more experience on how a team works from that. Any thoughts about that, how that went before you
at
your first job compared to learning it again at Outscale in a way?
Yeah, sure. In my first company, I was working with a different engine. So after that only, I started to learn Unity. But after joining Outscal, so first thing was the thing is I did my Outscal course before the COVID situation.
Oh yeah, that
So
feels like so long ago.
yeah, in my first company I was working at the office, so it was very easier to communicate. So if I want to communicate something to my artist, I can just go to him and sit on a chair nearby and tell him whatever I need and things like that. So the communication was a lot easier. So I can ask him, okay, I need a sprite, something like this. I can describe it even by drawing something. So, but the thing is, on joining Outscar, I started to work in remote teams. Like I had to work with my teammates, people who I have never seen in person. It was totally different. I think that was the first time I used some kind of project management tool. I think I used Trello or something at that time. But anyways, that was the first time we were using. I was introduced to something like that, and it was a lot different. I think that made a lot easier for me on the COVID situation. Like when suddenly these things happened and we were all moved into this remote workspaces, it was a lot easier for me, like managing things. Yeah.
Because now you had a better, more efficient way of communicating and getting your point across as well, I imagine, right?
Yes.
All right, that's good to know, because I feel like when you're in a work environment, if you're not just like in a relationship, if you're not communicating well enough, things can go south very quickly.
Yes.
So now that you've been in the industry for quite a while, how do you feel about game development as a career?
Yeah. Okay. As I mentioned, I was not at all aimed at this gaming industry during my uh, when I was a student. But when after I came to this industry, I know the difference very well. So you can from this industry also you can just move into some other random IT developer job role. But it's a lot different actually. It's the office spaces of gaming industry are totally different. It's really cool industry. I don't know how to explain that thing. So something I wanted to tell. Okay, for example, currently I'm working on Fauzi, right? So what happens is, so I used to play a lot of PUBG. Okay. So currently we are working on the beta version of 5G. Even in between developing these things, most of the days on the afternoon session, there used to be a playtest session. So we are allowed to play the game with our teammates or our co-workers. Actually, that's a totally different experience. We are getting a feel like we are doing something that we love.
Yeah,
it's totally different experience.
I mean, if you're in the gaming industry and you're not, especially in development, and you're not playing games, then I feel you sort of lose touch with the thing you're striving towards. If you're not playing the things that you're supposed to be creating, it's like kind of cook food without eating the food. It's like, how do you do that? You can't really
of course. The thing is, of course we can do that, but still there is a problem. Like, okay, for example, just assume I'm optimizing a shotgun or something. If I don't know the difference between a shotgun and an assault rifle, I mean, if I'm not a person who is playing those kind of shooting games, it will be really difficult for me to implement that thing, right? So that's a big thing.
It just makes it easier, I imagine. Also, like you said, yeah, it's fun. What do you think? You talked about the work experience, I guess. This is like, your day-to-day work experience of being in a cool environment, getting to play games, to learn from them and things like that. What do you think as a career, as like, a lot of people think of it in a financial sense, where they want to know if there's job security, if there's growth, if there's opportunities to, move up in the industry. So what do you think about that?
Yeah. Okay. Regarding that, one thing, nothing is permanent in this industry. But something I can mention is on this emergence of this COVID period, there was a breakdown in the IT industry. Like in India, there was a huge breakdown in the IT industry. I think uh, since most of the companies had to move into work
Remote
from home
working.
culture,
Yeah.
yeah. So most of the companies was had issues with them, like there were layoffs and things like that. But you can see a reverse behavior on the gaming industry. When there was lockdowns and people were locked inside the house, there was a booming in the gaming, in the entire gaming industry, and that thing we can see on the LinkedIn itself. Like all the HRs are looking for game developers. That was a totally different thing. Yeah, so if you closely up, so you can see something on any Indian app. You can see a gaming tab now. So for example, if you take MX Player, there is a gaming tab. If you take Paytm or take Paytm, there is a gaming tab.
Paytm games.
Yeah. So most of the people are most of the popular Indian brands are introducing a gaming tab inside their app. And for any sports events in India, they are having related gaming
games.
events. Like there are events related with IPL and ISL. So the thing is, this gaming industry, so I believe this gaming industry is never going down.
There's only upwards
there might
from
be,
here.
Yeah, there might be changes based on time, but still it's never going down.
Yeah, and this is a sentiment we've heard from almost every person, every alumni we've called in, and every industry expert also we've called in, and they've been like, gaming is only going up, and the amount of people who are hiring at the moment and the people who are trying to look for good qualified game developers just increases day by day. And if you're a game developer watching this who's qualified and you think you could get a good job, check out a job portal on the Outscale website. And if you want to get into game development, check out the Launchpad program on our website as well. Enough of my plug though. I segued into that quite well. I would like to pat myself on the back. But you did say you were working on 4G, which is, I think, India has a couple of games it's synonymous with, right? There's Raji, which is quite well known. There is Mumbai Gullies, which is also quite well known, and then there is 4G. So, as a developer on that, do you think there comes an added pressure, when you're working on that game?
Yeah, of course. The thing is, actually, on my LinkedIn and on my Discord channel, on my Discord profile itself, actually there are a lot of messages which I'm not
you're
opening,
basically
and
not opening.
I'm not opening and I'm not replying. And the thing is, I'm not allowed to do that. I cannot interact with other people regarding the game. But still, actually, seeing these messages on the notification actually increases the blood pressure. Actually, there are people telling regarding more improvements that's needed, changes they needs, things like that. Of course, so there is a lot of pressure on working in such a game.
And how do you, I guess, how do you deal with that pressure?
Actually,
maybe you as an individual, or also the team that you work with, without going into something that is NDA, how do you guys deal with this pressure of having such a popular game?
Actually, initially it was really an issue for me. There were people, so if there were people directly asked for changes in the game, inquire regarding changes that's coming up in the game, things like that. But there were people contacting me for other reasons. And coming to this point, like I would like to do something on the name of the things like that. So actually these kind of issues were creating problems for me, but currently there are no issues. Like I have learned that part, like
You
avoiding this
finally
kind of.
settled down and understood how to deal with people coming to you and being like, please update the game, please
Yes.
add this, please, I want to do
Yeah.
something with this. Yeah. I can imagine like
Yeah,
the amount
currently.
of
Yeah.
go on, go on.
Yeah, yeah, currently I have taught myself that okay, I'm just a developer, so whatever is the design, my job is to implement that, and
Mhm.
I can give the suggestions if I have. That's all.
Yeah, that's I think that is something that not a lot of people have experience with, and I think people who are watching and listening will find it to be quite interesting, because I don't think they have they have heard of this pressure part from game development before, because 4G is one of the biggest names, and I was curious to know as well, like how this was being dealt with as someone who's I guess new, or rather somewhat experienced, but still it's a big game.
Yeah.
So let me now ask you about just general advice for people who are looking to get into starting building games, because we have people watching and listening to right now who are in Outscale's Launchpad thing, which is like a 14-day cohort where they learn how to build games and see if they are fit for game development. So what advice would you have for them?
Okay. So basically, I'll I'll be repeating what my professor told me. So what he mentioned, I feel like that's some kind of gold advice. So I don't know how to describe this. So basically, what he mentioned was, whenever you are learning something, just try to learn it from a responsible person. What that means is he is taking the responsibility of what he is teaching, right?
Teaching, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll actually repeat that thing. So if there are if students who are already in the launchpad is hearing this, I'm assuring them that they are on the right path. And even if there is someone other than them who are interested in learning game development, so please, if possible, please try to join this program. And of course, if the main difference, as I mentioned, is like you can do something in different ways, but the person who is succeeding is someone who is doing it in the very right way, or the very best way.
In the
So that's
optimized
why.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
your advice would be to join Launchpad, and then go into FSGD, and B, to optimize the way you are doing things, because that will come in handy. So I think it is pretty important for people to um because our mentors that we have at Outscale are very, they will tell you and they will answer your doubts, and listen to you. And I think you also, when you were learning, you also had this experience where you might have had doubts and they would have been explained to you properly, which I think is important, because when you're learning on your own, and which is something I've done as well, a lot of times you may have questions and you might not know how to search for those questions, or you
Yeah.
might not know how to phrase them or anyone to ask them. So you might either A, never resolve that, or B, get some sort of a wrong answer to it. So having that mentorship is one of the reasons that Outscale has mentorship, is so that that situation never arises, and that you have someone essentially taking that responsibility for you, and being that source of learning, right? So you went back when you had joined in, there was no launch pad. There was a trial, and then there was straight the FSGD program.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about Launchpad. It is a 14-day cohort, which is just a lot of game development being studied within that time. And we teach you the basics of data structure, of Unity, and you have mentor sessions throughout it as well. So kind of like FSGD, but condensed down so that people know what they're getting into. So once you finish Launchpad and you do all your assignments, you can then move on to FSGD, which is what you did. So we've just started this recently, and if Launchpad is 100% scholarship. So Launchpad, the part of Launchpad is, if you're good enough and if you get selected, you can come in. So what do you think, like how useful is Launchpad in this day and age, and do you think you would have also taken it back then?
Yeah, I think of course I'll taken it because the thing is okay, for me it was like initially I had to submit one project. Okay. For me it was like that, so we have to work on an assignment and we need to submit that thing, and from analyzing that, then only we were selected for the course. Like that. So actually it's a lot easier now. Like the problem is, like, if I didn't know Unity, I mean at least the basics of Unity at that time, it would have been a lot difficult for me. But it's comparatively easier now. So what Scouts are doing currently is teaching them some basics and letting them do some work on some projects and selecting from them, right? So I think it's a more improved method of picking up students. Yeah,
it is. And I think the students also, like, instead of jumping headfirst into the like full stack game development thing, and which is a 7-month program, they get a taste of it and they can figure out whether or not they are cut out to be a game developer, right? Because if you committing to something so long, it's a bit risky for some people. So Launchpad helps in that way as well, I guess. Like, imagine joining a job but not knowing what you'll be doing. It's kind of like that, because again, talking about full stack game development, it was like a full on, like, you built games, right? Could you talk about some of the games that you built and like the things that you did during it?
You mean as a part of the Outscale program?
Yeah.
Okay. So one project was it was a tank shooter game.
The tank game, yeah.
A 3D tank shooter game. Then there was a space shooter game, and there was one multiplayer game, like just for learning the multiplayer server programming and things.
Which one was your favorite to build out of that?
The space shooter.
The space shooter, why was that?
So one thing, it was the most complete game that we built. So basically the multiplayer game, it was just for learning the server
multiplayer side of things.
And the tank shooter game, it was just some assets we found from the net, and we did something on that. But the space shooter was a complete game that we did from the scratch, and that was the team project that we worked on. So actually it contained everything. So basically I would say that was the project made us ready for the industry. Like, we were working in the teams, and we had to research and found all the assets from the web. We had to find all kind of implementation find all the logics ourselves, things like that. So that was my favorite game, and it was a lot special. Like it was designed for multiple levels in a designer friendly way, things like that. Actually, I'll mention that as a high level project, even though on looks it will it will be seen as a very small 2D space shooter game, but still I would say it was a high level implementation of high level game that I had worked on.
All right, so space shooter. So people who are watching, if you're going to be joined, if I say if, because I expect all of you to join. So when you guys join FSGD, I expect to see the same level of love for the space shooter game. And because I want to see now, how the people who are there now, how they take that game and go with it. And if you have any comments, feel free to leave them. There's quite a few people who are watching at the moment. Let me just check if there's anything on YouTube or LinkedIn, and yeah, we can continue our conversation here. So I'm curious to know, you were in the second, clan essentially of Launchpad. Coming in, did you expect to learn so much from the Outscale program?
Yes, of course. So I joined the program by getting just a brochure or something of the Outstart program. It actually the thing that attracted me was the curriculum. So in that thing, it was clearly mentioned that whatever you are working on, it will be on your own GitHub profile, and basically you will be learning things from scratch and things like that. You will be learning team building, things like that. So actually I got attracted to the program from that brochure only. Actually, I didn't had any other idea about the Outscale program at that time. Currently Outscale program is popular. I can see the advertisements on Instagram and LinkedIn and all. But at that time I just got that brochure thing, and I had no one to verify this thing. I think I called Mayank directly and communicated regarding.
And yeah, I think the curriculum is the most attractive thing at Outscale, which is something you can't get anywhere else, because college, forget about learning all this in college. Especially if you're learning in an Indian college, I would say 98% of the times you're not gonna get this. Especially not with the amount of experience you get in team building, in handling interviews, in making your resume, in designing things in a designer friendly way, which is all things you've mentioned today, and which I assume carries over into when you go into a studio like Encore, which is building a game like 4G, right? So it's quite interesting to see that. All right, somebody wants to know about your interview process with Encore and how you applied.
Okay. For me, I got introduced to Encore through Outscale itself. And actually, the interview process was easier for me. Actually,
just a humble brag.
So basically the thing is, at the time when I attend the interview for Encore, this 4G was not started.
Announced yet.
It was not announced. It was just on the plans. This game was just on the plans. But so I just applied for the so basically I got introduced to Encore. At that time I had another offer with me, and I cleared this interview from Encore. I got the offer, and after that only the 4G was
announced.
Declared. Announced. So that then only I came to know about this company actually. So I got an offer with Encore, but I didn't know Encore, which that company is. So if 4G was not announced, I really doubt whether I'll join Encore and join the other company.
So how was your interview process like what if you can talk about it, what like assignments did you get, or like how was the interview process with the person? Because people kind of want a bit of and some advice on if they ever interview with Encore or any other big studio.
So okay, for Encore, the knowledge in Unity is the main thing. So you need to be thorough on the basic concepts of Unity. And if for any studios, basically they will be expecting your knowledge in the game engine that they will be working on. On bigger studios like Sumo or Ubisoft or Rockstar or studios like that, since they will be working on some kind of insider game
in-house engine.
Since they will be working on some in-house engine, it's not like that. They won't expect us to know have knowledge in their engine, but still we should be good in the language in which they will be working on. And in any studio you should be thorough about some basic game development concepts, like 3D programming, things like that.
So just have good fundamentals and know what you're interviewing for, essentially. Like what if they like look at what games they're making and what engine they might use, and try to brush up on that or get good at that, is what you're saying.
And there is another thing. So basically, we can never predict an interview. So it never depends on the company. It depends on the interview. It's always like that. Just because it's from Encore, we can't expect that they will be asking this thing. But it will be depending on the interview. But there is another trick for clearing these interviews. Like we can put these questions in the mouth of the interviewer. Like we can compel them ask us some questions that we really know. There are some kind of tricks in that. Actually, I learned it from the Outscal placement training program. So at the end of the course, we had a training for the interview session. So it was like we had mock interviews with the peer from industry experts, outside industry experts, people like that. So actually, it helped me a lot in clearing these interviews. So yeah,
so
that's
another
the thing.
tip.
Other than that, yeah.
Other than that,
we can never other than that, we can never predict an interview.
That's true. So the tip you have received here is fundamentals, obviously. Get good at what you're doing and join the FSGD program, because we also have a placement training where you will be taught how to handle interviews just like Sethunath did, and crack a job at who knows where. Could be Encore, could be Rockstar, Ubisoft, we don't know. Your destiny is in your hands, but join FSGD now. So yeah, this is quite an interesting question, because I think a lot of people don't know what to expect going into an interview, especially people who are new to the industry, and they're interviewing something like Encore or maybe even Sumo, right? They don't know what to expect or what they will be asked. So having this answer from someone who's been through it, is probably very helpful for them. So thank you for that. And any other questions, anyone? Last questions here before we wrap up the event, because it's almost close to 1 hour. We're like 49 minutes in, and we've taken so much of our time already, Sethunath. So thank you so much, first of all, for joining us, and for all the cool insights. Honestly, as someone who's not a game developer, I learned a lot from this interview today. Like just hearing from things about you, because I may not be a game developer, but I really enjoy listening to all these stories and information about how someone came into game dev and what's going on behind the scenes, because I don't get to see that part of the games industry. So it's always interesting for that, and that's what I'm trying to do, is help other people also figure that out and hear about that. So any other questions, anyone? Last questions? Otherwise, you lose your chance to ask Sethunath everything, because he won't respond to you on LinkedIn or Instagram, because he just said people will ask him about 4G. What if, Sethunath, what if people DM you regarding Outscale?
Yeah, actually, I'm getting queries regarding Outscale, so I always help them.
So maybe if you're not being sly and you help you talk about Outscale to him, he will respond to you. Okay, do you have any experience about game networking before you got employed?
Game networking,
yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, so basically he might be asking about multiplayer programming, things like that. Okay, so I had very basic knowledge in multiplayer game programming that I learned from Outscale. Then I worked on some outside projects. So for that, I use some kind of frameworks like Photon and all. But currently for 5G, so basically we self handle the server part also.
All right. Some Abhishek asks if you are new to game development or you had experience before, and at the start of the interview he did mention that he had experience straight out of college, right? Out of college you went into game development as your first job?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So he had experience there, and then he came on to Outscale, and then again back into game development, into the wild he went, and got into Encore later on. So any other questions, anyone? Because then I shall wrap this up, because I don't see any typing. Your time's up. Your fingers are too slow. And I would just like to say thank you so much, Sethunath. Any last advice, parting words for people who are watching, listening? Any messages to anyone who might be watching from your end?
Actually, I don't know what to tell as an advice, but still I'll repeat. Just whenever you are learning something, whether it's with Outscall or you are learning something of your own, even if you are doing the Outscall course, you will be moving into an industry, then you will be learning things yourself. So in any of these situations, whenever you are learning something, learn it from some responsible sources. That's all.
Be responsible with your learning. I've heard this about drinking and smoking, but never about learning.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear this. Somebody someone said, wait, my one questions, and they're typing. So okay, their question is quite confusing. How this person asks how to start any game.
How to start?
How to start developing any game.
Oh, okay. Basically, for start developing a game, first thing you will have to do is you should be having an idea about some kind of game. So what kind of game you are developing, you should be having a design for it. Don't just jump and start developing something. First, create a framework of the game, like what all things you will be needing inside. So basically, first thing you will need is a design for the game. Then you need to plan on things like what all tools you will have to use for that. Then only just start learning it from some responsible sources and start developing it. And be sure to do it using some kind of Git tool. Yeah, keep it in your GitHub profile.
Yeah, having it there is super important. Another question that quickly just came in. What's the difficult part you found during the full stack game development curriculum? Like, what do you think was the hardest part for you?
Hardest part
to learn.
Actually, yeah, okay. I'll tell something. When you are working in teams using Unity, one problem you will face is the merge conflicts. Like you are working on something, your partner is working on the same thing. Obviously, it will get into a conflict, and it will take a lot of time to learn how to manage these things. Actually, there are methods to manage this thing, but you will take a lot of time to learn these things. The thing is, if you are learning game development yourself, the problem is you won't be facing this issue. So basically, what happens is after you are joining a company, you got an offer, you joining a company, you will face this issue, and probably you will what to say, probably you will destroy the entire branch in which the development happens.
Okay, so that's quite interesting, that the hardest part for you was not the curriculum, but the managing and merging part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think with this we will start wrapping it up. Thank you so much for the questions, everyone. If you've missed any question, feel free to leave them in the event chat, and we'll probably take it on next event, or we can just type it out and give you the answer as well. But thank you so much for everyone watching. Thank you, Sethunath, for joining us. And I think we'll see you guys tomorrow for another event where we have the founders of DirtCube Interactive coming in and talking about gaming in the metaverse. Sethunath, any experience with the metaverse?
Actually, no, but actually, I'm learning on that part.
All right. So maybe you should also tune in tomorrow for the event then.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So thank you so much for everyone joining in. Don't forget to join the Outscale Discord, and to learn more about Outscale, check out the website. We have events going on every week. We have a meetup in Bangalore this Saturday. So if you're in the Bangalore area, join our Discord and join the meetup, and come say hi to us, to the whole team. And yeah, sure. We have, check out our events page, check out the Launchpad program, check out full stack game development. I keep messing it up for some reason, but FSGD, check it out. And I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Have a good week. Bye bye. All right.